Peace, peace, peace. I am Dr. Philip Roundtree, and you are tuned into episode 66 of hashtag You Good Man. Salute to those of you who are watching or listening on the YouTubes. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I got to put my arm, and Mike, you got to put your left arm up and point down. All right, they can't see it. Yeah, we messed it up. Just subscribe. Hit the
We try.
Yeah, we try.
We try.
Hit the subscribe button. Like, comment, share with a brother who you know could benefit from this pod. Also, if you're whatever streaming platform you are listening on, specifically if you're listening on Spotify, hit the like, the comment, the share button. The reason why I say Spotify is because their prices are going up. It's going up like between $1 and $3 per month if you're on a family plan. Got a couple people on the family plan, might have a couple people off the family plan after this increase, but I'm not going to let them know. They just going to find out when they can't access the songs that they desire. With that said, I am joined by my Canadian homie. He said just call him the homie, but I don't know too many Canadian American Canadians who are living the dream up in the upper North America. The good brother Michael Olenek. How you feeling?
Feeling good, man. Always good to be on the pod. And yeah, I guess I'm living the dream. It's the same kind of dream I was living in America. The problems exist up here too. So
We're agreed.
they just don't got the gun. They don't got the gun problem the U.S. has.
Well, I don't think a lot of places have the gun problem.
Yeah, that's weird. It's almost like it's endemic to the U.S. Strange.
Can't believe it. It's like, oh my gosh. But yet and still,
Shocking.
people are always shocked when I say that America is the safest it's ever been. And people are like, wait, how? Because the media does what the media does. And so, yeah, gun violence might be at an all-time high. But when we talk about just violence and crime in general, it's actually at a low point. So, but we're not here to talk about that. We are here to have a conversation about a viral video. And it's actually pretty timely and it aligns with the types of conversations that we have here on hashtag You Good Man Men's Wellness Podcast. So I came upon this video being on X, formerly known as Twitter, which is a cesspool. It is a cesspool. I don't have any other language to describe what Twitter is. It's like hell times 4. I probably would, if I was a believer, I probably want to go to hell and play spades with Satan, as opposed to just be on, say, yo, you gotta be on Twitter for the rest of your life. But I digress. The viral story that I saw was related to a sister by the name of, and forgive me if I pronounce her name wrong, Rho Bashe or Rho Bashe. This sister posted a video of her, that the aftermath of her being hit in the face with a brick by a man who she rejected. She said, no, I'm not giving you my phone number. And he allegedly proceeded to hit her in the face with the brick. And the reason why the video went viral is because not only did she record what her face looked like at the scene and at the hospital and at home, she highlighted, and it took so much courage for her to look around at the 10 or so men, again, quote unquote men, that were present and said, why didn't y'all do anything? Which led to a great discussion, an unfortunate discussion about the role men have in not only protecting women, but also how men navigate rejection. So I sent you the story, Mike. I tried to send you the video, ended up sending you a link. Were you able to watch the video?
I was able to watch the video, and yeah, man, there's a lot of layers to this, and it does hit on the kind of things we talk on, because the video's indicative of like a systemic failure on a lot of levels. There's like community failure in it. There's an idea like community failure in the sense of like, because I don't think the not stepping in is purely gender. I think not stepping, if you look at videos of fights or videos of violence, there's always a group of people with cameras, feeling it but not doing anything about
Yeah.
it. That's kind of like our age, and like I think that's the community failure. But yeah, I agree with you that it took a lot for her to start shouting at the other men, what are you doing? Like, why aren't you stepping up? And it does, for me, it does call into account of like, who are men in our society? What do they represent?
Yeah.
Who are they trying to be? And then like the part about rejection is huge too, because I hate to say it, but like I'm not shocked that a man got rejected and reacted with violence. I'm not shocked. I wish I was.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah. I think for me, so my visceral reaction was just like, I thought it was fake. Number one, because
Oh, I think everything's fake at first, so I'm
yeah.
with you on
And
that.
so
Yeah.
like the time of day, how her face looked, the disfigurement. And then it was once I saw, because so much across social media is fake. Once I realized that it wasn't fake, my next question was, wait, where did this happen? Because I couldn't believe that it was people standing around that somebody would get hit, literally hit with a brick, which I contend is attempted murder. If you try to hit somebody, if you intentionally hit somebody in the face with a brick, that can cause brain damage, that can cause seizures, that can cause so many different types of ailments. I was like, where is she? And I heard the accents of the men that were present, and they did have accents. So I was like, did this happen in America? Because again, part of me would think that American men, for whatever reason, giving them the benefit of the doubt, especially black men, because there's a layer of race here that is definitely prevalent, which I noticed in a lot of the conversation that was happening in the Twitterverse. But a part of me was just like, nah, I just don't see. Even the hardest of brothers are just not going to sit and let somebody, let alone pick up a brick, then go and hit a woman in the face with them because they got rejected. But then I saw it allegedly took place in Houston, Texas, and that didn't change much when by way of just the absurdity of it. But it was just like maybe a part of me just couldn't fathom that American black men specifically would go to that level of violence, and that had to be somewhere else. And probably that is patriarchal conditioning and just the desire, me being a black man and hoping and wishing for the best. So that was my second reaction to it. My third reaction was, what the fuck? It was literally like you didn't get the number, so you picked up a brick. It was just I couldn't wrap my mind around it, and I saw so much commentary, and I still can't necessarily wrap my mind around that lack of humanity that took place in this person picking up this instrument, this tool of destruction with dangerous intent to hit somebody in the face. So those were my initial response, like these visceral feelings that came up for me, like the anger and the outrage. What about you?
Let me ask you this, with the idea of you thinking, what the fuck, how do you go from getting rejected from not getting the digits to grabbing a brick? But how far away is grabbing the brick from when a guy buys a woman a drink at a bar and thinks it's going to lead to something, and then when it doesn't, he goes, fuck you, you bitch? How far away are those? Like, how close is that kind of anger? You know what I mean? Is it a huge jump to go from that visceral angle of fuck you, you bitch, I'm entitled to something now because I bought you a drink, to grabbing a brick? Is it that far away?
I think so. I do think so, because and that's what, when we talk about, responses to rejection, which is ideally you just take the rejection in stride. I know that whether it's memes or just conversations that take place about raise your sons. If somebody says they reject you, they don't want to talk to you, they don't want to date you, they don't want to ever, just take it in stride and keep moving. I do think there's some nuance there with that as well, like it is in so many situations. But I do think there is a stretch to go from verbal assault, verbally violating someone, then picking up a dangerous instrument, right? I do think
guess
there's levels to this aspect of violence.
I guess what I'm saying is, can we believe that the man that gets angry at the woman at the bar is that far from becoming the man that hits a woman? It's anger's on a continuum, man. If the man already believes that he's entitled based on a drink, doesn't the entitlement grow as the more invested you get into something is? Like, to where this anger can grow and grow in the man.
But I do think, and I do hear what you're saying, but I think that there's in what we see here, a lot of men are cowards, right? A lot of men are cowards. So taking it from, and definitely to strike a woman, you're a coward. To verbally assault a woman, you're a coward. But a lot of men are cowards when it comes to engaging in some type of physical violence, despite what the statistics say, right? We know that men are more likely to be physically abusive, physically assaultive to women. A lot of times it's women that they actually know, right, who they're in relationship with. But just a strange woman, I could see the FUB. I've been around a lot of those, right? But I've never been around, so I've been around the FUBs because pride, because ego. You feel shamed, right? You didn't have your masculinity affirmed in that moment. But I don't think in those individuals' eyes would they ever consider picking up something, picking up a brick and hitting her with it. Now, if you would have said with that comparison, if you would have said picking up a drink and throwing it in her face, which is also assaultive behavior, that wouldn't be a far stretch.
But you see what I mean, though. You get where I'm going with
do.
It. The continuum of this kind of behavior.
Yeah, no. I definitely do.
It's endemic to men when they're fragile masculinity isn't affirmed.
Yeah.
It's no holds bar. It's, I'm going to know you no longer have value as a human being. Because listen, yes, when it gets physical, is it more of a threat? Absolutely. But to verbally accost someone and make them feel fear, you are still saying you are no longer on the same level of humanity that I am, and therefore I can treat you as less than.
For sure. No, definitely no argument there. I just think for me, going from the hey FUB to, again, a brick, right? Like, it's I can't wrap my mind around it. And I've been around some chauvinistic brothers. I've probably been chauvinistic at times in a past life. The idea of picking up a brick.
Yeah, I guess I just have, for that type of man that exists in the world, I have less of a belief in their anger staying where it is. I expect it to grow, because I also know that, like, abuse isn't reported on a one-to-one, right? Plenty of abuse that women face at the hands of men isn't reported.
Yeah.
Not reported for years and years and years. So, like, I just think it's happening a lot more than we see.
Oh yeah. Listen, I definitely think it is, because, what if she didn't go to TikTok, right? What if she didn't have the courage to upload this in probably one of the worst moments of her life? What if she didn't do that?
We wouldn't be talking about it.
We wouldn't be talking about it. We wouldn't see and hear these brothers who and this is why I had to stop commenting on Twitter posts regarding the situation, who I had a little bit of compassion for. These brothers who were there who did not act. So I guess we can get into that aspect of it. What were your thoughts in hearing the responses from the men present, such as, well, what did you want me to do? What was I supposed to do in that moment?
I mean, part of it's absolutely like bystander effect stuff where you think somebody else is eventually going to jump in. I don't got to handle this. There's enough people here. Someone's going to do something. Um, and I must sound so cynical on this pod. I don't think we hold community with others very well to where we see the need to jump in for their safety. We speak it. We speak it. We speak good games about how, like, protect women or protect this or protect that. But the actions, we don't see them too much. We just don't. We don't see people step up and go, I am willing to put myself in between and attempt to mediate or de-escalate a situation. I don't know. Were they thinking about their own safety? Were they thinking of this isn't my problem? Were they caught up in the spectacle of it? Like, there's all kinds of things that could play out. I don't want to reduce it to like manhood, because I did like check out a couple articles on like some research stuff and where they've looked at the bystander effect, and it doesn't seem to be gendered, right? People just like to stand and look.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there is something to be said in accountability when it comes to, like, couldn't they have talked to the man, right? You don't have to jump in and like save the woman, but like try to de-escalate, try to do something. Speak, open your mouth. Open your mouth isn't going to turn the threat on you. And besides, I mean, maybe not. I was going to say realistically, if the threat all of a sudden spun on the person that decided to talk, is everybody or all the men going to band together against the man? You know what I mean? Is that going to change things?
Exactly. And that was one of the points that I made first. And another response, like a visceral response that I had to watching it was, I'm shocked nobody was recording it, because usually, which lends, I'm not going to say credibility to the fact that they might not have known what the hell was happening, but we see everything being recorded. We see the most heinous crimes, assaults on humanity being recorded, but seemingly, again, something could come out later, but seemingly the only person that decided to hit the record button on their phone was the sister who got hit. And so that made me think, like, damn, were these people that in shock and awe about what was taking place? Because normally, even if it's like a build up to something, or even after she got hit, you see people picking it up and just recording it, and you're seeing mocking, or you're seeing like, yo, that's crazy. Haven't seen any of that. So that was alarming to me, because as you said, we record everything. We stand, we watch, and we record everything. But you brought up a point that I made on Twitter, because I had to stop myself from replying to women, especially black women, who were the majority of women commenting on the situation, because I recognize sometimes you just gotta shut the hell up. Right? Sometimes you it doesn't, and I talked about this across my socials. Sometimes I'll psychoanalyze shit to death. In that moment, that's not what was needed. And a lot of men, and I saw a lot of men replying to these women who are venting out of pain and frustration, who some have merits to what they're saying, some are just saying shit to say it. But at times, I didn't need to say anything. I didn't need, especially like commenting directly to somebody about what they're feeling, what they're experiencing, and offering a differing perspective. Sometimes you just got to sit and let things cool. No different than when we talk about when you have an argument with your spouse, with your partner. Yeah, y'all can argue, and you could literally stand there and say, well, you should have did this and would have considered this, but ultimately, is it going to get through based off where you both are in that moment? But unfortunately, I didn't see a lot of men doing that. But I just brought that up. But I wanted to speak to this point of what you said, because I replied to a sister. I did reply to one sister on there. And because she talked about bell hooks, who we both stand. And what she said, matter of fact, what was her post? If I can pull it up real quick. She said, bell hooks tried to tell us the power of patriarchy has been to make maleness feared and to make men feel that it is better to be feared than to be loved. And so my response to that was, indeed she did, and the byproduct of it is not only men falsely feeling unloved, but also fearing one another. Thus, once the shock and awe of the bystander behavior to the egregious act wears off, we may see shame turn to love, and with that love, we'll see brothers teach each other. Because in this moment of time, and I wrote that because shaming them brothers, that's not going to get us where we need to be. Right now, even in the midst of safety, because I recognize that when we're talking about violence, we're talking about safety. You got to do it by any means necessary, like the Jegna Malcolm X said, by any means necessary. So if you got to shame, then you got to shame. But I also think a part of that their response was related to fear. So we have this fight or flight. What is it? Fight, flight. Fawn,
Freeze,
fawn. Yeah. All the F's, right? But nobody said what the fuck. Even nobody said, all right, fuck it. Let me just go ahead and hit this 911. Yo, some shit just went down, right? Even just to do that, right? I hope at bare minimum, I would have at least dialed my arch enemy 911 and said, listen, something went down, right? But part of that, but I bring that up to say, I definitely think part of it is just the fear of one another, especially when we talk about this idea of black men. We fear one another. It's a reason why we don't have the healthiest relationships with one another, right? Which we can also attribute to patriarchy, but also the concept of white supremacy, which did a hell of a job in having us look at one another as competition. And if something transpires, then we can be on the opposite end of some type of harm as a result.
Yeah, there's interesting crowdthink that happens within groups of men, right? And I'm thinking about this situation. It's hard to step out, right? It's hard to break the narrative. It's hard to be different than the others as a man. And a lot of time men fall in line with the loudest and the angriest man that's in the group. That becomes the ringleader, the loudest voice, the most visceral reaction. And choosing to stand up to that man is like, it can be social suicide in some cases. You get kicked out of the group.
Yeah.
You no longer have those friends. You get kicked from the pack, right? It's like pack animal type behavior. And I definitely think that plays a fact. And I think another thing that plays a fact is we like to call men protectors, right? Or that they're strong, or that they should be able to provide shelter. But I don't know if a lot of men even understand what being a protector is. I think a lot of men believe being a protector is brute strength. And that ain't it.
Yeah.
Like, that ain't it. To be a protector, you have to have created some kind of ethic for yourself and how you go through life. Like, personally, for me, on an experiential level, I want to be known as a place of shelter by anyone I come into contact with. And I make that known. I put that out to the world. I am here to provide shelter, protection, a space. I want to provide you a space. And I don't know if a lot of men have that ability right now, especially when when it has to come at the cost of possibly being a pariah in your group of men. And we got that idea of like being seen as weak, being seen as soft. You have to come into my narrative. Come with me on my anger. My anger is righteous. Yeah. Join me in this, brother. And it's like, to go against that, you are risking something as a man.
Yeah, because you're gonna be a simp, right? You're gonna be a sucker. You're gonna be a hotep. Changing traditional African language to mean something derogatory, which is wild to me. But you're gonna be all of these things, and who wants to be that? Especially in a society where tribalism is real, where you want to belong, no matter where you are. When we talk about this, I remember, who was it? It was Jim Brown, the late Jim Brown. Even though I've had some issues with his politics somewhat, when he talked about this idea of gangs, you're talking about family, you're talking about community, you're talking about a place where you feel like you belong. Even if some of the behaviors might be unhealthy, belonging is key. So yeah, that definitely impacts this, whether one intervenes or not. I saw another post and I want to see what you think about this. Let's see. Just bear with us real quick. Here we go. So there's this brother on social media, Queer Socialism, said the vast majority of people do not have any training in self-defense, intervention, and prevention strategy. And I think in these discussions, it is often discussed that most people do not know what to do in the face of violence. Not an excuse, but an explanation. Again, nobody cares about that in the hours, in the aftermath, right, of a woman being hit in the face with a brick. But I do think there's something there. What do you think?
There is something there. Yeah, and there is something there. It kind of also makes me think of where the conversations are happening about this kind of things. Like you pointed out, like it's happening on, I'm not calling it X, Twitter. It's happening on Twitter. It's happening in social media. It's not happening in person to person. So it's like this disconnected, like you said, venting. It's people venting into the abyss of the internet. It isn't people coming together to discuss violence and how to handle it. It isn't people highlighting the fact that like women are still being attacked by men, a large percentage, right? That's still happening.
Yeah.
Men are still treating women as less than and as objects that they can abuse and use however they want. So I do think we do need real conversations in real spaces. All this stuff cannot happen on the internet. You can't build movements on the internet. You can't build change on the internet. So there is something to be said of like, why don't we have men coming together to discuss the problem that exists currently as far as violence versus women? Why don't we have men coming together to be like, brainstorm, how do we work on this?
Yeah.
We don't see it.
Yeah.
But I there's absolutely validity to pointing that out, because we do need to, violence is very much a thing right now. And when society is constantly putting more and more pressure on people and giving them less and less, violence is going to be more and more familiar and more reckless and more shocking. So if we want men to be like pillars in the community, then we need real time, real spaces, and real actual solutions to come up with how we handle violence as men.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Agreed. I think it can start on the internet, but it can't stay there.
It can't stay
right?
there. Yeah.
Like it can't stay there. Any movement, it can begin there. You can meet people of tribe, but if it stays there, that's all it's ever going to be. It's just going to continue to be an idea until you put it into action, right? Until you really get out in these streets. So yeah, but no, I definitely agree with what you said, and I agree with what the good brother said. This isn't something that's taking place at an early age. Conflict resolution. Always have to talk to Mike, my son who's a toddler now. Talk to his siblings. Like, listen, first we like the hit, and I get it. Like he's a hitter right now, right? And it's cute. It's cute at almost 2. But ultimately, we don't want him to have that behavior become the norm, right? As he matures, as he gets older, we don't want physical violence to be the norm. So his mom does a great job, and even as a toddler, she's like, okay, inhale, and he'll exhale. He has no idea what he's doing, right? But she's teaching him how to cope with the emotions and the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that he has. But we don't see that across the board. We don't see, that's not something, again, this whole Philadelphia school district socio-emotional education, this isn't taking place there. This conflict resolution, it's only conflict resolution and peer mediation after you done fought.
Yeah.
Right?
No prevention.
which it's all reactionary, which doesn't make sense, especially if we're talking about raising and cultivating healthy human beings who know how to de-escalate a situations. It's no different than what we say about the police, right? Like they're trained to increase tension and toxicity and violence in situations. That's just their very nature. And so unfortunately, this is what too many men have become. They become de facto police in this situation by their inaction to do anything to de-escalate, to aid in the situation. Just their mere presence just causes more harm. I can only imagine getting hit with a brick, looking around and seeing people, and just the emotional and psychological turmoil that will take place as a result of just the people who are just standing there looking at you. Questioning the questions, you're already questioning humanity with the person that hit you. Now you have to look at the people in their inaction as a result of that.
Yeah, you get to deal with the individual collapse and the community collapse in the same moment.
Which
Right?
is mind-boggling. Which is mind-boggling.
And I think you bringing up your son's actually a really great example, right? Because his hitting is how he's relating to the world, right? His hitting is how he's choosing to channel feelings that he has, right? And you're right, it is cute when you're two. But we got a lot of men that exist and live every day, and that is still how they relate to the world. Like, because listen, let's bring it back to like the guy at the bar getting angry at the woman that didn't decide to dance with him after he bought her a drink. I bet you his hand raised as he's calling her things. I bet you he did one of these. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Men are living with their hands as their only way to relate to the world a lot of the time, I think. And it's because, as always, we always end up here some point. They don't know what they're feeling. They don't have any other skills. So they're just still using the same skill that's a blunt object and isn't a good tool.
Yeah. Yeah. When we speak about this idea of teaching, like with so much of the work that I was doing when I was working with black and brown boys, it was to, okay, I want you to understand what your emotions are and what you're feeling when you're feeling them. But I want you to look at your body. I want you to look at your hands. What's happening? I want you to feel your brow. I want you to feel your face. What's happening and where in your body is this tension manifesting itself? For me, it's always in the face, right? It's always in the face. I don't ball my fist up. I don't go through any of that. My body language completely shifts when I'm upset, when I'm angry, when I'm not feeling heard, when I'm potentially fearful. So now I have to front as if I have everything under control. I have to become the intimidating figure that society already thinks that I am. As a means for what? As a means for survival. And that's why I can't underscore the importance of survival when it comes to situations like this that some brothers find themselves in. Like as much as I understand and empathize and recognize the hurt and the pain that comes from so much of the commentary that relates to this situation, I just can't castigate men as a result of something like inaction in that moment. Because then what if we find ourselves in that moment, as we've talked about earlier? I can only hope that I would be like, yo, relax. But if I'm just putting myself in this situation. If I was in Houston at that moment in time, if I was by myself, I can unequivocally say there's probably no way in hell I would do anything in that moment. I would try and call 911, right? But I would have to dip off. Hence the reason why I don't go places by myself. Cause cause you don't want to feel alone, right? And feel potentially helpless. Now, and this is just a matter of, listen, me being surrounded by a group of men, I'm always on high alert. If I'm walking down the street, it's especially when we talk about black boys and black men, and I hate that I'm this way. I got to just make sure my posture is correct. If I see 4 black boys walking down the street, they could be straight A students. They can be amazing human beings. But I'm still going to be like, just in case. Right? Just in case, because you never know. But now I've done a better job at hey, what's up, young fellas? Speaking to them. Oh, what's up, old head? Then you disarm yourself. You disarm them and you disarm yourself potentially by speaking. I never forget when I went to, and I tell this story so often. When I went to Black Enterprise magazine, they were honoring black men who were doing different things in the community. I went down there for my work in mental health when I was really out in the mental health streets. I got on the plane. There was another brother, Frank Brady, who's a good brother. He's an advocate. He's always super hype, animated. He's a speaker. He does a lot of different things. And he just kept wanting to talk to me. He was taking a flight from Connecticut to Philly. Then we were going down to Miami or wherever the PGA golf tournament is. What's that place? It escapes me right now. And so I'm like, yo, why you keep trying to talk to me? I'm not saying that to him, but I'm trying to present like I don't really want to engage with you. I had just quit my job the day before, so I was unemployed, right? Going down to this place where it's going to be a lot of black men in tech. You got representatives from Walmart, from all these super places down there. It's just like, how the hell? And I said to myself, how the hell am I going to go down here with the Philly, the up north, the northeast grit on my face? No, I gotta smile. I gotta open up, right? I gotta engage people, and so, but how we're socialized as men, if we smiling at other brothers, it's a problem, right? So we gotta make sure that we're intimidated because we don't want to be victimized. If anything, we want to be the individuals who's perpetrating the whatever violence it is, in the event that you have to defend yourself in some capacity. But yeah, if I was down there, if I was by myself, it's a high likelihood. I'm not going to say 100%, like, Maury, you are the father, but I'm going to say 99.99%. And I don't say that with shame because I've recognized in my 39, almost 40 years of life, how I've been conditioned to respond to situations. Now, I hope I would call 911. Now, the difference is, if I was down there with 10 of my homies, 10 people who I knew, and it was one of my homies, like, yo, what you doing? Yo, it's been plenty of times I've had to get a homie, like, because they in a girl face too long, and I'm looking, and she's visibly pissed off. Like, yo, come on, man, we out. But if it was 10 of my homies and 10 random men who I didn't know, the percentage drops. Because of this idea of fear that is a result of everything that Bell Hooks talks about.
No, that's real, man. And I think a lot of the times on the daily, I am on the defensive, preparing for an unforeseen attack. Like, that is the mindset. And, like, yeah, some of that is like, yo, we are mammals. Like, we are biologically designed to survey our areas and figure out if there's a threat there, right? Yeah. Some of it is that. But some of it is also like conditioning. And I got like a silly story that happened this week. I was walking my dog, well, my girlfriend's dog, but now he is also my dog. So I walk a dog now. It's a whole new experience. Yeah. And I was in the process of picking up my dog's poop as a guy started petting the dog. And in my head, I was like, are you effing kidding me? But I didn't say it, right? But that was the moment was to be like very hard, very aggressive, all in the face, right? Not to verbally say anything, but just to give an energy. But I decided not to do that. And this sweet guy looks at me and goes, you have a very pretty dog and a wonderful beard. So I got 2 compliments out of that experience by not going to what my brain tells me to do, which is look like you are angry, like ward this person off with your energy alone.
Yeah.
So I do think that is part of the conditioning. And then when you're talking about like the lesson here isn't to like shame these men, because that isn't the lesson. It's never the lesson. A lesson can't be to like get angry at the people that failed. The lesson is how do we prevent the next people from failing? That's the lesson. The lesson isn't to come at these men and be like, you're a bunch of cowards, right? And start making fun of their manhood. Like that's not what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to like, who would I be in that scenario? Like you said, context is important. But at the same time, I think it was the movie Stand By Me. I think it was where one of the characters ends up dying later in life, older, because he's breaking up a fight in a diner. He gets like stabbed. I think it's Stand By Me. And listen, if you haven't seen it, yeah, I spoiled it for you. It's been out since the 80s. So like you should have seen it by now.
I saw Lean on Me with Mr. Clark. I didn't see Stand By Me.
Well, I just remember like hearing that in the moment and being like, yeah, that would be me. I would break up a fight and get stabbed. And like, I don't know, like if it's the Libra in me, like I'm getting astrology on you guys. It's okay if you're not an astrology person, but Libras are all about justice, right? And justice is important to me. And I'm not good at seeing someone, listen, I can't handle the table next to me talking down to a server, right? I will say something in that moment because there are certain moments where we should want to put people in check if we know how to deliver the message. And I think we need more men that figure out how to deliver their personal message, and we need them to start doing it more often.
Yeah.
Because we all got something, man. We got something to offer. We got little tidbits to be like, hey, you might want to revisit this and try something different. But we're scared, like you said, we're scared of opening up. We're scared of crossing that threshold and inviting in whatever might come in after we do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Before we get ready to wrap up, I want to talk about what was just unbelievably problematic. I saw a lot of men going to the woman who was hit in the face. Again, her name is Rho Bashe, I believe. And hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. Rho Bashe. They went to her social media and they started taking videos of her talking about black men, talking about men in general, her doing skits where she's like knocking a man's hat off, I believe it is, and using it as we're supposed to protect her. And I was just like, yeah, you are. Because for me, I don't care what it is that you got to say about me, right? I want to make sure you're okay before we start addressing any problematic behaviors that you might be exhibiting on the internet, right? I want to make sure you're safe. Safety is paramount. Then we can address anything else, because if you're not safe, if you experience some type of harm, then a lot of the words, the conversation is going to be on deaf ears, right? But I thought it was just so. It was so problematic. I know I used that word already. And I saw somebody bring up, and I was it Mickey Kendall? I can't recall who it was, but they said this is the same thing police do after they murder a black man in the street. They go find the worst picture they can find. They go find them acting up, holding guns, doing whatever, not looking prim and proper, and they use that as justification as why they perpetuated harm against them. So I don't know if you saw any of those type of tweets or videos. I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I did. On that article you sent me, there were a couple women commenting on how men immediately attempted to drag this woman and prove that she was not deserved. She lacked deservedness for protection. And you brought up police, and I like to always bring up, like, when I say no police, that includes the cop that exists in your head. He got to go too. Like this idea that we can find flaws in someone to such a degree that it removes them from community protection, we got to lose that. Like, we got to lose that. I'm in full agreement. Like, that ain't the behavior. Yeah. That doesn't absolve. And like, really, it becomes a question of these men that weren't involved in the scenario that decide to try to drag this woman. What are you doing? why are you even doing this? Because all you're doing is perpetuating this. Like, listen, you ain't throwing a brick, but you throwing something.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're causing the same energy to the. You are bringing that woman down in the same way that man did.
Bringing more pain, bringing unnecessary pain, and that's why I say,
Exactly.
if you're not going to intervene, if you don't have something healthy to say to potentially help in the situation to add some type of value, then just be quiet. Then just be quiet. But unfortunately,
You ain't getting that on the internet.
you're not. You're not. We're too far gone. We're too far
Yeah,
gone.
everybody's got a voice. Everyone's got something they can put in.
We're too far gone, and I try to keep hope alive for humanity, but it, by the day, I see why elders be upset. Like, yo, y'all ain't shit. All right, because they's like, yo, you supposed to, I held on just a little bit. I had the faith of a mustard seed, like the religious folks say. But y'all, this
The hope is in the community. The hope ain't on the internet.
exactly.
Every now and again, we get nice little blips, little rays of light on the internet. We're like, oh, that's a cute story. That's great. But the hope has got to be found in the community at this point. We got to start building actual places for conversations to exist that don't exist in the echo chamber of comment sections.
Word.
And listen, I'm just like you. I will stare at some comment sections and like analyze people and be like, where do I jump in? But usually I'd be like, don't do that to yourself. You don't need that frustration.
It's unnecessary because then next week it ain't gonna matter, right? The next
Exactly.
week it's not going to matter. It's going to be another incident that's going to take place. We just running from place to place. We just running. Oh, something happened over here. Oh, we running over here. Something else happened. We running over there. And we offering our 2 cents with no real substance, nothing real to show from it, right? Oh, boy. How can the people reach you, Mike?
You can still find me on Instagram, Sisyphean Absurdity. That is still the only place you can find me, unless you happen to be in Halifax and you happen to be a man and you want to come to the Holding Space Men's Wellness Group. That will be this Sunday. So.
Word. What's the topic?
It's not even really topic based. We open up with a little. I ask everyone how their table is,
okay,
and the table is like a metaphor for life. And then we invite, we let it go freely. Whoever brings in something, we let it spin from there.
Word. As always, you could catch me on the socials, Phil_Roundtree. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, like, comment, share. Hopefully, you gain some value from this conversation that was had.
This was solid.
Yeah. It's always solid, right? If I do say so. Whether it's not manifest, we don't do it for the views and the likes, but we do appreciate the views and the likes. And with that said, I am Dr. Philip Roundtree. Peace.